Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 Artist of the Year Profile Performance honoring Annie Morehauser. I'm Margaret Niven, Chair of the Santa Cruz County Arts Commission. I'd like to introduce some of my fellow arts commissioners who are here in attendance this evening. Paula Woods, Judy Stabile, Joanna Phillips, Linda Phillips, Adele Gardner, and Paul DeWorkin. The Santa Cruz County Arts Commission seeks to promote, expand, and plan for the cultural life of Santa Cruz County and to bring artists and arts organizations together with government for the benefit of all citizens of the county. To that end, several programs have been developed, including the Artist of the Year Award, the Percent for Art program, and a new program which will recognize local emerging artists. Details in 2023. In April of 1991, the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors established the Percent for Art program. Recently installed public art projects include the County Animal Shelter, and currently in the works are public art projects for the Aptos Library and the new Live Oak Library Annex, Heart of Soquel Parkway, and the Green Valley Pathway Project. The Artist of the Year Award is given for outstanding achievement in the discipline of performing visual or literary arts. The recipient must be a resident of or operating in Santa Cruz County, have a national or international reputation, and have contributed to the local community through their work in the arts. If there are any previous recipients of the Santa Cruz County Artist of the Year Award, would you please stand up and be recognized? Okay. Well, let's clap for them anyway. Finally, I'd like to thank the County Board of Supervisors, the County Arts Commission, the County Parks Department, and all who helped make this profile performance possible. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ryan Coonerty of the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors.
Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to be here, and before I begin with tonight's presentation, I ask you to please join me in thanking the Santa Cruz County Arts Commission, a group of amazing volunteers who spend their time trying to promote and recognize amazing art in our community. Please give them a round of applause. It is now my pleasure to introduce the 2022 Artist of the Year, Annie Morehauser. I'm going off the board of supervisors and out of elective office, and this will be one of the last public presentations I do, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that it is to honor Annie Morehauser. Annie is an artist, a businesswoman, and a community volunteer. We all are very aware of her art. It decorates my home in various and sundry ways, and makes everyday life more meaningful, more beautiful. She's an incredible businesswoman that creates jobs and tax base and an international reputation for the arts in our community. And I've worked with her on the Second Harvest Food Bank, Jacob's Heart, Digital Nest, and so many organizations where she is always thinking about how she can help and grow in our community, and especially helping young people find their way in this place. And so it is my honor today to issue this proclamation. It comes on behalf of me and the chair of the board, Manu Koenig, but more importantly, it comes on behalf of the 285,000 residents of Santa Cruz County who are so lucky to have Annie in their midst. And so I won't go through all the whereases. She has a long and storied career about which you're about to learn. But I do want to make sure that we are proclaiming this year, and Annie Morehauser as the 2022 Artist of the Year. Now I'd like to introduce Tobin Keller, who's going to say a few words about Annie.
I promise, Andy, this was not going to be a roast. It's mostly about me anyway. So I'm really stoked to introduce Annie Morehauser to you all. I'm glad I'm standing on stage with her too. And especially to introduce this recognition of this award as we recognize her business, Annie Glass, and its celebration in its 40th year. We celebrate the artistic and philanthropic contributions that the person Annie has contributed to Santa Cruz County. Annie has been committed to her vision for 4 decades. This vision, starting and running a company, the vision includes starting and running a company that is dedicated to making beautiful objects. It takes a certain belief and vision to dedicate oneself to production art glass. And Annie Glass follows in that great tradition of successful production glass art studios. In writing this introduction, I had to do a little research. You know, I am a teacher too. I know very little about the American studio glass art movement, but the little I did learn helped me to understand Annie's pursuit of the fine art glass production. I learned that there were 2 phases to this movement. The first in about 1900, and the second, the most prominent phase, began in about 1962. The movement was led by Harvey Littleton and Dominic Labino, who helped to begin the contemporary glass blowing movement. It's amazing what you learn when you read. Other artists followed this inspiration, 2 of them being Dale Chihuly and Marvin Lepofsky. This movement grew and spread to various universities and schools in the U.S., influencing many young artists, Annie being one of them. Annie attended California College of Arts and Crafts in 1977 to 79. She did this by way of New Jersey, to the College of San Mateo, to San Francisco State, and then to CCAC. That's what it was called back then. She brought her vision and excitement of glass blowing to that small art school located in Oakland. I didn't know Annie when I attended CCAC, when our education overlapped. We entered the same fall semester of 1977, but studied in different disciplines. I was 18, introverted, hopeful, and studied in the 2D arts area. Annie in the 3D arts. More importantly, she was in the glass department, which was a world unto itself. I knew little of the glass area, although my first human love interests also studied there. To me, the glass artists were like gods, unreachable, much like my first love. Yes. But what I really mean is they worked with hot molten glass, blowing things into unimaginable shapes and colors, or they slumped sheets or rods of glass into beautiful and fragile forms. Glass was a magical substance that only gods could transform. Or so I thought as a young and in love, impressionable art student. The art department chair and teacher artist was Marvin Lepofsky. He may have had something to do with my impression of the godlike status of the students. Annie talks about Marvin's ego rages and throwing and smashing students' work against the studio walls. This had the effect of making students either enormously humble or assholes. That's my word. Annie said arrogant. Glass holes, that's it. Thank you. She's credited for that, okay. I asked Annie about her more memorable moments at CCAC. Aside from Lepofsky shattering students' project, she shared that once she mixed cobalt blue instead of cerium, creating a blue cloud coloring the inside of the glass kilns. This sounds like a far-out visual to me, but undoubtedly toxic as hell. No? Okay, then we won't worry about the health of those students 40 years later. It wasn't until much later that I finally met Annie. I had known about her when I moved permanently to Santa Cruz in 1985. About 17 years ago, I was officially introduced to Annie through my friend and colleague, Jane Gregorius. Annie had begun an artist residency program at Annie Glass, and I was invited as the next artist. She gave me the freedom to experiment and explore. Her generosity and support led to an exciting outcome of fused glass portraits. But most meaningful to me and to our friendship, Annie had applied to beginning painting at Cabrillo. But first she had to challenge the prerequisite of Art 4, color and design, in order to take the class. Of course, I thought this was hilarious. She wanted to take a beginning painting class and had to prove her design skills. So I suggested that Annie take a special studies course instead. During the last 3 semesters, Annie has worked on a series of engraved and painted glass experiments. These experiments, now successful, combine her interest in glass, creative writing, and painting. We've shared some wonderful moments and memories of studying at the same art school. We've attended the closing ceremonies of the Oakland campus, and will celebrate the coalescence of one campus into the San Francisco space. As a 20-year board member of CCA, Annie has been a staunch supporter of the craft movement and insisting that it remain an integral part of the school's curriculum. Even with dropping the C from its name, the American craft movement history is undeniably ingrained into the bones of this art school. And without these bones to fortify it, well, it's just a skin sack of a place trying not to imitate that which already exists in the Academy of Art University, San Francisco. Annie, I had to say it, and you're on the board, so take it back. I'm really stoked to introduce you, and I'd like you to stand and give a great welcome to Annie one more time. Thank you.
Well, I thought it would be better if I just hired some filmmakers to make a film so I wouldn't have to talk tonight. And that's what we're going to do. But before I do that, I do want to say a couple words. Thank you so much for this honor tonight. I'm deeply grateful to be among the recipients of this award. Santa Cruz County has been an enthusiastic supporter of Annie Glass. My store downtown was one of the first to reopen after the 1989 earthquake, and that nearly destroyed the entire downtown. People would bring out their guests from out of town and say, "Hey, you know, come. This is an attraction. This is like a museum." It's sold all over the country, and so we had so many proud people that loved Annie Glass, and it became part of their family traditions, their Thanksgivings, their holidays, birthdays, and anniversaries. And now another generation is doing the same. I came here right out of art school, as Tobin told you, and I worked at Upper Crust Pizza, The Farm, and The Greenhouse, the restaurant, and Walter White Fine Arts. I learned something at each one: how to treat employees, how to sell and wrap glassware for shipping, and how to write an invoice, none of which I learned in art school. The many people who worked on our staff brought their own expertise and style to improve the way we make Annie Glass. I share this title with them, and with one person in particular, Sherlyn Torres. Please stand. Sherlyn has worked as our shipping manager and customer service manager for 31 years. There's a few other people here tonight who I would, hang on one second, lost my plan. Would everyone here tonight please stand up who is or was an Annie Glass staff member? Let's give them a round of applause. Isabel, Camille, Teresa, Biagio, Matt, Ava, Sadie. Stay standing, Jesse. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I wouldn't be here without you. You know, let's face it, I couldn't make one of the plates that we sell right now. You guys are just way too good at it. Next year, we'll be celebrating 40 years in business. Finally, my friends and family, I want to thank you. Taylor, Ava, and Sadie, you give me love and support through the tough times and the high times like tonight. And Ava is poised to lead the future of Annie Glass, so I can take more painting classes at Cabrillo. Okay. So before we show the film created by Swan Dive Media, I have a disclaimer. In the opening scenes, it looks like I'm wearing a tie-dyed cape. But I'm not. It's a velvet table runner. It's very expensive. I had a late night flight into New York City and the really early morning. I was a TV appearance on a morning show called, Hello Connecticut, and all the stores were closed, so there was nothing I could wear. But I went to my showroom, and I have some stunning tablecloths and table runners. And they looked fabulous over my tracksuit, and nobody knew the difference. And I think that's just one of the many examples of what the resilience that made Annie Glass, Annie Glass. And so may we have the film, please?
Her company, and she brings it to Connecticut all the way from California. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Designer Ann Morehauser has turned tableware into art. Her Annie Glass collectors include Oprah Winfrey, Barbara Streisand, Caroline Kennedy, myself, I'm happy to say. Tell me a little bit about your philosophy and what Annie Glass is.
The idea behind Annie Glass is to add some whimsy and some warmth to the table. It's handcrafted in California. It's dishwasher safe.
How did you come up with this concept?
Well, I believe that the dining experience should be a feast for the eye as well as the stomach. So I want things to be delightful.
I saw glass blowing at the beach for the very first time at this amazing event. It was a May Day raku party up at Waddell Creek. All the different colleges came together and fired ceramics outdoors. And someone showed up with a portable glass blowing rig. And it was a full moon at the beach. And as he was swinging this long 4-foot blowpipe with a hot glass orb on the end, it just seemed like a dance with the glass as a means of controlling it. It was incredible, so I was like, oh my God, I was mesmerized. I was studying dance and art, and I thought, oh man, that's like the perfect combination of the two of them. It's just been my passion ever since. I'm Annie Morehauser, and I started Annie Glass in 1981, and I make glass tableware, sculpture, and home decor.
The product is a slumped glass bowl, more or less, or plate, adorned in gold patterning. Each piece is made to slump into a specific ceramic mold, which is made here on site. Well, we make our product out of sheet glass. The sheet glass needs to be cut to different shapes. Depending on the complexity of the shape, it's either hand cut with a water jet. Then the glass is adorned either by hand or by screen printing method. From there, it is then placed into a kiln inside of a mold and then fired to anywhere between 1390 up to 1450 degrees Fahrenheit. They come out the next day, and voila, you have an anti-glass product.
So this is our Roman antique collection. This is what Annie started with almost 40 years ago. It's all hand cut, hand decorated with 24 karat gold or genuine platinum that we sell all across the country to big department stores, high-end stores, and of course in Santa Cruz County in our community. I have been working at Annie Glass for the last 7 years, but on and off my whole life. When we opened Santana Row, it was like, you know, get your boots on the ground, running. And now that I'm back in Watsonville, it's really special. I love going to the warehouse every day and being inspired by what it is that we're doing. I think there's a lot of reasons behind why we're so supported by the community. Annie Glass sparks joy for so many people. I think it's such a wonderful story of how Annie created her business really from nothing. She started downtown Santa Cruz. She would have these big factory sales where people would line up. And then over the years, she's grown it to be in these big department stores and hotels and in the Smithsonian all throughout the US. But it's all made here, and people really have gotten to see how it's grown over the years.
You know, she came out from the East Coast and learned how to make glass on the beach in Davenport, and then instilled this entire community of friends and artists who inspired and helped, you know, pave her path into success. I was raised in my mom's shop, her glass shop in the sash mill, when she was just figuring it all out in the 80s and started to develop her business and just got bigger and bigger, and I just kept breaking glass more and more as a child, and she was always pushing me to try everything creatively. There was no like, you're gonna go be a doctor. It was like, you wanna go paint graffiti, don't get caught. You know, she was cool about stuff, so.
We don't have to get a problem because it's a really dangerous word. We have to try really carefully about that. Perfect.
Working in glass, there's sort of this set notion that glass making is done in this very certain and specific way. And I found that the process here kind of breaks all the rules. We do a lot of things that people in the art glass community would just be blown away that we get away with it. And it works. So, you know, if it works, then it's a tried and true method. One thing that makes this place unique is the fact that we do use float glass, which is basically window glass you'd find in your home or in a building. And we heat it up very rapidly to peak temperature, about less than 2 hours. Glass doesn't like to heat up really quickly. And basically this has to do with how much it expands when it heats up and how much it contracts when it's cooled. If we were to even heat this glass up too rapidly, it would explode.
My job entails of everyday running of the production, making sure all the lists are done and getting our 300 and 400 pieces out daily. If I remember correctly, we got into a lot of battles, but that was just because of me caring for Annie Glass, and of course Annie caring about her business. So there was a lot of headbutting, but it was all for the benefit of Annie Glass. She always challenges us. There's always, hey, what if you do this? Even though it's an idea outside the box, it'll make us think, it'll make me think and say, maybe it could be possible.
I am the manager of customer service and shipping. I've been here for 31 years as of last month. A lot of it has to do with Annie willing to push the envelope and saying, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I want you guys to do it. And they may think we just can't, but of course we try and it works.
I took glass blowing at the College of San Mateo. They just had it for the summertime, so I signed up for that. And that's what I did. And that's when I became a transfer student in 1977 to the California College of Arts and Crafts, as it was called then, in Oakland. And Marvin Lepofsky was the head of the program there, and he had a great reputation for successful students. He left a legacy of really highly successful Bay Area glass artists. In the Bay Area, there was an organization, but it was really only for men who blew glass. And it was pretty limited, and I couldn't, they wouldn't let me join. So I kind of felt like, all right, I'm gonna name my company Annie Glass. I'm gonna lay it on thick that it's a woman. I had some pivotal moments growing up when I was going to be on the track team, and I just love that freedom, that moment I'd just be like up and over, and up and over, and there's that wonderful cadence and the exhilaration, when you're good at it. Once you get in that rhythm, it's like nothing can stop you. At the last minute, they told me I couldn't be on the track team, and the coach takes me aside and he says, "I'm sorry, Annie, you are really good at hurdles, but we can't have girls on the team. But we do want you to be in the color guard, because with legs like those, you should show them." That was just such a wallop, it just felt so unfair, and I'd been practicing for months with them. And that was a galvanizing moment right then and there, because it was like, okay, that's it. If I had listened to them, I never would have done anything. My mother was really something. She always worked. She was really talented. She was from Italy. She was an immigrant, grew up with nothing in the Depression, was an orphan, came to this country with her mother's family. And so she was really tough. She was really concerned about me studying art. I guess she just thought I was going to be in a garret, somewhere. And she was concerned, but she said, if you really love it, you'll make it work. She died when I was expecting my daughter. 2 weeks after the big earthquake here.
See the dramatic evidence of that behind me. This is the Pacific Village pedestrian shopping mall in downtown Santa Cruz. I think a total of about 40 buildings have either been totally or partially destroyed. Again, all of them the old unreinforced masonry type that dating back.
Like many businesses in Santa Cruz, the 1989 earthquake hit us really hard, particularly being a glass studio.
There was a lot of broken glass as a child. One of my first memories was the earthquake in '89 and coming to my mom's shop, and there was like a 2-story pile of glass that had just, everything had broken.
We had to use a backhoe to get it out. It was filled this high. I was pregnant with my daughter. My son was 2 years old. We thought maybe we should move back to New Jersey, like this is bad, this is really bad. How can you be in the glass business on a fault line? Like what a stupid idea that is.
And I stepped on a piece of glass at a really young, I was like 2 and a half. And I remember being in the hospital because they were like taking this big piece of glass out of my foot.
I called it the big chill moment when I had to review my whole life choice and life plans. Maybe it's not a good idea to be in this business. Maybe I should just go back to New Jersey, start over. We had to be resourceful and scrappy with no money. And I was on food stamps and tried everything I could to get through. I didn't start at Annie Glass with anything. I would just show up with my truck at Santa Cruz Glass and go in the dumpster. And the guy would come out and say, "Get out of there! What are you doing?" And then I said, "Well, I'm actually making these." And I showed him these pieces I was making. He goes, "Oh, that's pretty cool." He goes, "Well, come here. I think I got something that's scratched. Get out of the dumpster." And we had this arrangement, like whenever we had something scratched, I just show up, And I wrote a check, not knowing if my first case of glass, if that was going to be good or not. They delivered it. It was a ton. They said it was a ton, but it wasn't a ton. It was 2.5 tons.
They got a crane to drop it on the deck in front of the sash mill, and it just went right through the deck.
And I thought, oh my God, I haven't even paid for it. I don't even know if the check is good.
So they just instantly, on their first big shipment of glass, it broke like the whole deck that all the neighbors shared and the landlord, and it was a big fiasco. They're just figuring it out as they were going. And
I went on to spend 6 figures a year with that glass company, and they would like to tease me about it and say, yeah, you gave us a bad check the first time. You're not so fancy. I knowingly gave them a bad check, hoping and praying that somehow the money would get there before they cashed it. I asked my mom, "Hey Mom, can I borrow $1,400? And she said, no, I don't have the money. So I asked my boyfriend, and he loaned it to me. And that's Michael Reinhold, who became my husband, is the father of my children, and he's my first business partner. Michael was a surfer and much more business-oriented than I ever was. And so he started doing the business side of it, which was great because we could divide and conquer. We'd go to New York and do the shows, and he'd be like, oh, it's great, it's premium, you're gonna love this stuff, it's 24 karat gold, you know. He was really, really great.
I had gone to a couple trade shows with Michael, and he had this huge personality. And so people were, gravitate towards him because he was just so, he could laugh loud and, just a really great person to be a representative of a company.
And he came in and was like, we're gonna brand this and we're gonna make a business out of this, and I'm gonna go sell it to everybody I can. And he took Annie Glass from, my mom having one kiln in her little studio to, Saks Fifth Avenue, Bergdorf Goodman, Barney's, Gumps, went to New York and sold the glass and created this brand of my mom's identity. That was the story of my parents. They were just making it happen with no resources and nothing. They paved their way through golden plates.
Michael and I divorced, and we had to divide property, and so I bought him out of Annie Glass. But to do that, I needed a lot of money, and so I went to the banks. I remember, putting the suit on and saying to the kids, okay, now, Mommy's got a very important meeting. The kids are just not cooperating, and finally I'm just get in the car. Mommy has to borrow $1 million today. And they're like, okay.
So we went through a divorce together, and then she just fearlessly went out and borrowed $1 million and bought her factory. So I'm like, how do you borrow $1 million? And she said, miracle bra. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. She's very bright and she's very determined, and she's very no-nonsense when it comes to business, which is unusual for an artist.
I wanted to grow Annie Glass into a national business, and the only way to do that was get out of the West Coast. So it was just a lot of hard work. I was really approaching it as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, and as an artist.
I feel like she has had to work twice as hard being a woman in business, but she's always done such a good job being our mom. Annie Glass has never taken that spot.
We were both doing business. I had a swimwear company at the time. It's a big topic, and it's a big topic today, women in business and having a family, because most women have to be there for their children. They have to be there for their husband. If there's a husband, they have to be there for their career, and to balance all of that together. Big items in life. Some of the traits that Annie has that help is having heart, because I don't care what you're doing. I mean, you could be growing flowers, you could be making plates, you could be making kites that fly in the sky. But if you're not doing it with your heart, you've lost everything. And that's one thing that I see over and over again with Annie, and how she addresses people, how she addresses her family. You can see it in her artwork, and I think it's one of her great qualities. I'd say that the adversity and maybe some of the challenges that Annie's had have come just from being a woman in business, always having to be a little bit better, a little bit stronger, always having to find some way to make that balance. I love what she does, and I love how she gives herself to everyone. When you're in Annie's arms, you're in Annie's arms the whole way, and there's no halfway. And I think it's one of the greatest things of our friendship is that she's always got my back.
Michael, who was at that time her ex-husband, or she would say her husband, died very quickly and very suddenly. Annie was named Woman of the Year by the Chamber of Commerce at that time and had to give a speech. And she started talking about Michael, and she just couldn't finish. She looked straight at me and came down off the podium, and I just took her out of the room. And she kind of fell apart. And it was just one of those moments. It just made me love Annie, and She was so concerned about her kids. You know, being Woman of the Year didn't mean anything in that moment. You know, it was really what was going on in her personal life. And I just admire her resilience.
So it is really special, just all the old stories we hear of like, oh my God, your dad helped me with this and all this. And it's sweet because it's like, it's known as Annie Glass, but that he had a background there too. I can't imagine how hard it would be to go through a divorce and to have kids, but to really be able to step up and become the artist and the businesswoman now and really, you know, manage all aspects of the business.
Do all the art, build the brand, do everything to keep Annie Glass afloat and raise 2 kids. It's a pretty crazy feat that she had to figure out at a young age. So, you know, I've always remembered those times, and I'm always really proud of my mom for what she's accomplished.
I have no idea how she did it, but it worked out really great 25 plus years later.
For other women starting out in business or starting something new, I would say don't be afraid to fail. The certain amount of risk is going to take you so much farther, and that it's important to fail. It really is. I've certainly done it a lot. And listen to yourself. You are your own best advisor at times, and when you're out of your depth, go to the people who've already done it. You know, I think the thing about glassmaking, I probably would have gotten out of this a long time ago if it didn't keep throwing up challenges. It kept me intrigued, you know, and as long as it kept giving me challenges, I'd have to figure it out, you know, I'd have to be creative and problem solve. But the beauty of glassmaking was that it only gave me small victories, but it gave me enough of them to keep going. So it's really not fair. Because it's named Annie Glass, I get all the credit. But the people that have worked here for years and years and have taken it away, you know, run away with it. I couldn't make a plate now if I sat down and tried. They are so good at what they do. And they've taken it to so many new places. And I'm just so grateful. Okay. Where is he? No, he's not here. Okay, well, Joel, you want to say anything? Are you even here? Oh, okay. All right. Joel Hirsch and Michael Daniel are the young filmmakers who made this, and are very grateful to them. The young local filmmakers who made this, you know, you may have read Joel Hirsch's byline in The Good Times in the past. You coming up, or? Okay. And after that we'll have a Q&A. Good job.
Thank you. Hi guys. Thank you so much for watching. I don't have anything prepared, but yeah, what a pleasure making the film with Annie. Awesome experience. I am one half of Swan Dive Media. My name's Joel Hirsch. The other half is Michael Daniel. Unfortunately, he can't be here, but he's the director of photography, and I did the storytelling and the script development for this piece. Yeah, this was just a really cool project to get to learn about her legacy in Santa Cruz, and you know, that intersection of art and business acumen, and you know, it's a really incredibly inspirational story. And I think, you know, Michael and I have taken a bunch from this. You know, there's a lot of, I think, drive to do your own thing, to lean into creativity, and you know, like we said in the film, to lean into risk and take that on and realize that, you know, when you lean into that, miraculous, incredible things can happen. So, you know, I think Annie's a truly great example of that. So thank you guys for watching the film and being a part of this.
So it's question and answer time, if anybody has any questions. Sure. I'll repeat it back to you, whatever it is. Of course. That is the reason that we're in Watsonville. I couldn't afford anything in Santa Cruz. I did look, and I needed a ride to get tires, and my manager at the time said, only if you I'll give you a ride, but only if you come look at this building in Watsonville. And that's how I bought it. So, yes. Thanks.
And that just reminded me, it brought me back to, I don't know if I was on the planning commission when you wanted to paint your building that beautiful blue. And we were on, I don't know if it was the commission, and there were people that thought, oh my God, no, it's too bright. Like, no. And I'm thinking, she's an artist. Of course it's going to be that beautiful color. And there was actual debate about it.
Really?
But we won, and it was approved. So your beautiful, bright turquoise blue building in Watsonville is there, and I'm just so proud as a Watsonville person that you're with us in Watsonville and support so many nonprofits in Watsonville and in the whole county. So thank you, Annie. Just
Thank
an
you,
amazing,
Thank
wonderful person that you are, an inspiration for everyone.
Well, I can't wait to hear what they think about the orange that we painted.
I'm just wondering if you have a piece that is your favorite.
I always have the standard response. It's like, no, that's like asking which of my kids are my favorite. But I brought them tonight. And there's a couple more out front. Just somebody down there. He's coming. Oh.
Hello, Annie. My name is Antonio Rivas. I think you remember me.
Yes.
Nice seeing you here. One of the things that I really admire you, besides being an artistic and caring and loving to our community in the city of Watsonville, one of the things that I really love you is the times that we had met regarding the Jacob's Heart Foundation. And I really thank you for doing that. And appreciative because you have helped a lot of kids, a lot of children in regards to their disease. So with that in mind, you are Yule in our city of Watsonville.
Thank you.
And I appreciate all the things that you have done and continue to do so. And appreciate you can say your heart, like you said, Jacob's heart, your heart is so kind, so loving that you're willing to help anybody.
Thank
and
you.
I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to help Jacob's Heart. I was actually like really scared. I'm like, are we going to see any sick kids? And they were like, no, just go raise money, please. Just do that. And so we put together a great board, but we had a reputation. If you didn't want to work your butt off, we wouldn't take you. So if you wanted to put it on the resume, we weren't interested at that time when we were starting the whole board. And we were a really hardworking board and did a lot of good and raised a lot of money. I'm proud of it. The lady right there.
I just want to add to the to the bouquet of her heart. I mean, I went to one of your celebrations at the warehouse or the factory, and everybody that went received one of these beautiful little pennants that she handed out, and I was so touched, and I had to wear it tonight.
That's great. Thank you. You'll have to come to the 40th anniversary in July at the factory and see what happens.
Hi, Annie.
Uh-oh.
Nothing. Hey,
We're security.
Yeah. I think we worked at the farm at the same time. We'll have to talk about that sometime.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway.
I was the flower girl. Out front.
Oh, yeah.
I made the flowers.
Yeah. I think I did a little bit of everything there, but no flowers. Now that you're so famous again, let's bring back the Beach Raku Festival. Can you help do that?
No.
Come on. Come on. Glass blowing at the beach.
Biagio Scarpello is right here, and Matt Eaton are right here. I mean, they would be the ones. Roy Johnson's over there. Peter Vizuzzi might be here. Well, thank you. Unless there's any more. Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you so much for that wonderful performance evening, and congratulations. Thank you for having been a part of our community for so long.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
And thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. And we have some refreshments outside if you'd like to stay and chat for a little while with each other. And we'll see you next year for the next Artist of the Year.